Now that tumetolewa Chan, we can now go back to our normal default setting of fighting William Samoei Ruto and his ridiculous government. Now, one of the things that he attempted to do a couple of days ago is selling off Kenya Pipeline. Now, for those of you who don't know, Kenya Pipeline is a national strategic asset. This is because every single liter of petrol, diesel, and aviation fuel we consume in this country has to go through Kenya Pipeline. Now, a private investor will only be motivated to increase his profit, meaning the Kenyan consumer of fuel will no longer be cushioned by the government on how much it will charge to transport diesel or petrol into that pipeline. Now, another key consideration to make, we discovered oil a couple of years ago, and we want to become a future oil exporter. The only way we're going to export oil is through Kenya Pipeline. So why on earth would the Kenyan government be selling off the one facility that will enable it to export crude oil? It is ridiculous, all right? And then Uganda and Tanzania have come together to construct the largest oil pipeline in East Africa. Why on earth are we selling off our own? Why? And then another key thing to consider, Ruto collapsed Changamwe oil refinery assets into Kenya Pipeline. And now he wants to sell it off. The first thing that people need to understand is that Ruto, Raila, and Uhuru have all interest in the Kenya's oil and gas sector. They will be the first ones in line to buy off the shares of Kenya Pipeline. Be assured of that. So this Kenya Pipeline is not being sold out to the public. No, it is being sold to key political figures who have the financial muscle to control it. They want to corner the market. The one thing that we should stop is the sale of Kenya Pipeline. Kenya Pipeline needs to be controlled by the Kenyan government.
The government has finally unveiled a list of 11 parastatals earmarked for privatization. Some of the notable firms in the list include KICC, New KCC, and Kenya Pipeline. Dennis Otieno has more.
In a dispatch, the following entities are up for sale: New Kenya Cooperative Creameries, Kenya Literature Bureau, National Oil Corporation of Kenya, Kenya Seed Company Limited, Kenyatta International Convention Center KICC, Moya Rice Mills Limited, Western Kenya Rice Mills Limited, Kenya Pipeline Company Limited, Numerical Machining Complex Limited, Vehicle Manufacturers Limited, and Rivertex East Africa Limited. The government has given a number of reasons justifying the sale of each of the entities listed in the plan. KICC, a landmark in the capital Nairobi by all means, Kenya Literature Bureau, Kenya Seed Company, and Kenya Pipeline Company have been slated for sale as part of measures by the state to generate additional revenues and reduce exchequer support. The National Oil Corporation, which was recently split into 3 units to turn around its fortunes, has been identified for its potential to attract private sector capital investments and expertise. New KCC, which is playing its role as an off-taker of raw milk from farmers, and apparel maker Rivertex were in the list to attract fresh capital that will enable them modernize their factories across the country. Interesting to note, some entities were identified as mature and necessitated a sale. They included Moya Rice Mills Limited, Vehicle Manufacturers Limited, and Western Kenya Rice Mills Limited. In keeping with the requirements of the Constitution of Kenya, the National Treasury has invited views from the public on this privatization program by the 11th of December this year.
William Ruto amejua anashindwa. William Ruto amejua anaenda. Na William Ruto ashajua ukweli, sauti ya Wakenya na sauti ya ground. Hakuna mtu anataka kusikia story yake na hakuna mtu anataka mambo yake. William Ruto anajua in a free, fair, transparent, credible and verifiable election that reflects the will of the Kenyan people, he cannot secure his re-election. And sahi mali yako anajua asipojipanga vizuri anaenda kutumia pesa mingi, anaenda kutumia nearly 50% of his savings. Wakenya watazikula na bado Wakenya watamkataa. Ndio maana huyo jamaa is a genius. He is very intelligent. He is a political mathematician. William Ruto is a tactician. Akakaa chini akasema, hata kama Wakenya watanitoa, hata kama Wakenya wataninyima nafasi ya kuenda miaka 10, nita make sure nikitoka, Safaricom iko kwa mikono yangu, Genz iko kwa mikono yangu, Kenya Pipeline iko kwa mikono yangu, na Kenya Ports Authority iko kwa mikono yangu. Wewe utasikia tu watu wanaitwa private investors walikuja wakachukua hizi vitu, hizi parastatals nimetaja. Lakini wewe ukiangalia, unaweza ona Mnigeria, unaweza ona Muhindi, ama unaweza ona hata mzungu, but huyo mzungu si yeye ndo private investor. Yeye tu ako pale, lakini ule private mwenye amefichwa, mwenye sasa Kenya Pipeline iko kwa mikono yake, ni William Ruto. Na ujue in a fair competition investors wanakujanga wengi, lakini a government, especially a corrupt government kama Kenya Kwanza administration under a corrupt president supported by corrupt cabinet secretaries aided by corrupt permanent secretaries, a government where people are competing to steal, to loot, to amass, and the EACC cannot do anything about it, because at the end of the day, the EACC can only prosecute the person the president has ordered them to prosecute, and it will be done, they will do so for political reasons, not for legal reasons. It is for these reasons, fellow Kenyans, that the parliament, watu wa Ruto, watu wa mkono wa Ruto, wakakaa chini. Sasa wamesema kutakuwa na public participation ya 7 days. Wa Kenya tukae tuongee na tuamue kama privatization of our parastatals inafaa kufanyika. Ni president mgani mwenye kichwa yake inafanya kazi, mwenye anasema anaogopa Mungu na alikuja na Biblia, na anajua Kenya Pipeline Company inapatia inchi 7 billion per year, 7 billion per year, alafu aseme hii 7 billion iende kwa private hands. I want to tell you something, wonderful people, and I want you to listen to me carefully. President William Ruto is selling our country, and is selling this country to himself, such that hata Kalonzo Musyoka akishinda, Fred Matiang'i akishinda, David Maraga akishinda uchaguzi, watakuwa tu ni president wako hapo, lakini mwenye kusema ni mwenye ana control Kenya Ports Authority, Safaricom, Genz, Kenya Pipeline, na hizo parastatals zote zenye ziko kwa mikono yake. Let me give you an example. Kenya Pipeline transports and stores fuel across the major and minor towns in this country. That is the truth. Na ukiangalia vizuri, look at this Kenya Pipeline vizuri kabisa. It connects all major cities. Imagine Kenya Pipeline fuel cars, ina fuel magari, ina fuel mandege, ina fuel makampani. Sasa imagine umechukua mafuta yetu sisi wa Kenya, umeweka kwa mikono ya William Ruto. Sasa William Ruto ndiye ana control hii mafuta kama yake, in the name of private investors. Guys, William Ruto anaweza ongeza bei ya mafuta ndiye angaishe ule rais next mwenye mnenda kuchagua juu mlimkataa. Anaweza amua tusikue na mafuta ya kutosha ndio angaishe serikali, ama anaweza hata amua tukose mafuta kabisa. Nyinyi bado amuoni hiyo. In private hands, a fuel shortage inakuwa weapon yake ya kusabotage a sitting government. Anaweza amua fuel ipande mpaka ikue a tool of economic control, na akiamua sasa fuel kabisa ikosekane, shut down the entire country. Who wants to buy Kenya Pipeline Corporation? Si private investor, ni William Ruto and his foreign friends. Be intelligent. Think, guys, think. And he is not just planning it for today. He is laying a trap for the future government. Kalonzo Musyoka, you are a lawyer. Chukua Ndegu Wanjiru, chukua wakili wote marafiki zako. Go to court. Already there is a court injunction in place that stopped this privatization. Lakini saa hii Wajaluo wenye wanatafuta mali Wajaluo wenye wako na njaa, Wajaluo wenye wako na tamaa ya kukuwa billionaires, watoto wa maskini wenye wamepata nafasi ya kukalia wizara ya pesa, wizara ya energy, kina Mbadi na kina Wandai, mayatima kisiasa, wameamua ng'ombe ikufe na nyasi kwa midomo yake, wao watasaidia William Ruto kuiba. Wakenya wenzangu, public participation inakuja. Musikubali Safaricom, Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Ports Authority na Genz ziende kwa private hands. Wa Kenya musikubali. William Ruto is out to finish all of us. Yenye anatuangalia anasema, nyinyi wajinga, mumesema ati ni one term. Sawa, hiyo one term nitaenda, lakini hiyo next government ndio inchi iende venye inatakikana, watanibembeleza juu Safaricom, Genz, Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Ports Authority, name all the parastatals, zitakuwa kwa mkono yake, kwa mfuko yake. Mungu atusaidie wa Kenya. William Ruto, Uhuru alitukataza, hatukujua kenye Uhuru alikuwa anasema, manabii wakatukataza, hatukusikia sauti ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Leo ule jamaa alijificha kwa kanisa na Biblia. William Ruto, huyu mwenye anakuchukua na kupeleka State House, anakupatia nyama na mchele, na baba ya mtu unenaga supu, unachukulia mtoto wako soda, ati unapanga line State House upewe soda, alafu anakupatia 3,000 kwa mfuko, uende nyumbani ndio useme ati 10 bila break, one term. William Ruto, wewe ni mkora, wewe ni mwizi, wewe Ruto, I voted for you. Mungu nisamee, Mungu nisamee, I supported you. Mungu nisamee. William Ruto, you are not a leader, you are a looter. William Ruto, you are not God sent. Bwana guy.
The grey counter suit dropped and everything went black as the president assented to the Privatization Bill 2023 that will allow the government to auction off non-performing state enterprises to private entities. The country's in Gikomba, you guys. I get the saving money on per diem's part, but we need this gathering of stragglers to oversee state operations. Treasury has already lined up 25 state enterprises to be sold Waru Road style, and the first 10 are already up for sale in the next 12 months, including the Kenya Ports Authority, Kenya Pipeline Company, Kenya Meat Commission, 5 sugar millers and some hotels. Maybe if we can chama some coins together, we can control the flow of commerce. So let's talk about privatization. It definitely has its pros and cons, but you know the cons are usually the WWE winners of this fight. Some pros are that privatization can be efficient, lead to faster service delivery, and with competition, providers can actually give you better services at lower prices. State enterprises could work like Amazon, hopefully without all the peeing in bottles and worker mistreatment. In Japan, for instance, privatization worked extremely well for their railway system. Trains were faster, efficient, and cost-friendly. And that's because the government put price caps to stop any Marcus Crassus situation. However, the cons in this list are a little long, like that supermarket receipt you used to get before the cost of living started aiming for the sky. Privatization means everything happening at the enterprise is for profit and for shareholders. The company has a bottom line, and it will up that approach at whatever cost. Without MPs even pretending to Nancy Drew what these private companies have done or are doing, misappropriation of funds, inflated costs, poor hiring practices, and deprioritizing everyday services for Kenyans will likely happen. It will be like Christmas for the incompetent. State enterprises can end up being sold to foreign entities, and we might as well start channeling the spirits of Mekatilili and Dedan Kimathi again. Start throwing out libation, friends. Kenyans are about to be the endo nilete jacket kwa gari service providers for whoever will own this country. Basic needs may become out of reach for regular citizens. In case water, electricity, and education are privatized, this could be our 13th reason. Unless your family has shares, and then congratulations on your wealth. Mistakes made in privatization can cost taxpayers a lot. For instance, the UK privatized their public railway system, and trains were sold to a different company and the trucks to a different company. Fare became expensive as maintenance costs went up. This prolific blunder led their government to subsidize costs using taxpayers' money so everyday people could afford to use public transport. Kindly watch the water privatization video I did to see what happened in Bolivia. Treasury will share the names of the 9 board members of the Privatization Authority who will oversee this process. These members are supposed to be appointed by the president, CSs, or PSs. Not to state the obvious, but corruption is already an industry leader and TED Talk giver in the public sector, and I don't think these 9 members will Justice League any any of it. Kenyan politicians are extremely bribable. It's one of their strongest qualities, honestly. Maybe we can bribe some of them to never run again. Neoliberal policies like these are extremely dangerous. First world countries and other high-achieving bedbug nations have already gone through these privatization processes, and many results still remain extremely questionable. Kenyans don't need to fight for their lives any more than they already are. Twitter wars and hateration TikToks are already enough.
To those who believe politics doesn't affect them, I hope today has taught you how politics affect you directly.
Ruto simpigi kura. Amenajisi inchi. Bila kutumia hata kondom.
This is Selector Dede.
Wanadhani ya si bongo lala, ikikupita we bongo lala, na walosema jana iwezi fika leo, tuko ground tunasoja. Hatujikuku mewaka sana, na mabisto na chafua raga, na walosema jana iwezi fika leo, tuko ground tunasoja. Hakuna boka, peleke shuleni watasoma, madaktari wamegoma, hapa sani Yesu atatuponya. Wambie punde imechoka sana, farasi bado ijapatikana, ni mandai wanagonya na mali wanaponda, unakonda wananona. Mandamano, 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 amise mandamano, mandamano, mandamano,
jam down shuffle.